Locomotive Pattern in Astrology Explained, TheAstroKing. Locomotive Pattern. The locomotive pattern is a dynamic planetary distribution pattern in Western astrology where the planets occupy approximately 2/3 of the birth chart, leaving 1/3 empty. Like a locomotive pulling a train forward, the first planet in the direction of movement becomes the driving force that leads the entire chart. This pattern represents momentum, ambition, determination, and the ability to pursue goals with continuous energy. Individuals with a locomotive pattern often experience life as a journey of action, progress, and achievement. What is a locomotive pattern? A locomotive pattern is a chart-shaped configuration where all 10 major planets are distributed across approximately 240 degrees of the zodiac, leaving an empty unoccupied area of about 120 degrees. The planet located at the leading edge of the occupied area, moving clockwise in chart sequence, is known as the leading planet. This planet acts like the engine of a locomotive, pulling the remaining planets forward. The pattern creates a strong sense of movement because the individual often feels motivated to explore, achieve, and continuously develop. Leading planet acts as the engine and primary driving force. Planetary sequence shows the order in which energies are expressed. Forward momentum creates ambition, initiative, and continuous movement. Goal orientation encourages progress and purposeful action. Why locomotive pattern matters? Astrologers associate the locomotive pattern with individuals who possess strong internal momentum and a desire to accomplish goals. The empty section of the chart represents an area where energy is less directly available, while the occupied portion shows where the person naturally invests attention and effort. People with this pattern often become initiators, builders, explorers, or leaders because they are driven by a need to move forward. Core structural breakdown. To identify a locomotive pattern in a natal chart, astrologers examine the overall planetary distribution. 1. Planetary span. All planets occupy approximately 2/3, 240 degrees, of the zodiac. 2. Empty zone. 1/3, 120 degrees, of the chart remains unoccupied. 3. Leading planet. The first planet at the front of the planetary sequence becomes the locomotive engine. 4. Direction of movement. The chart is interpreted according to the order of planetary flow. Locomotive pattern geometry. The locomotive pattern resembles a train where the leading planet pulls the remaining planets behind it. The leading planet represents the initial impulse or motivation, while the following planets represent the resources and experiences that support the journey. The empty area of the chart often represents life experiences that require more conscious development. Engine planet. The planet initiating action and creating direction. Following planets represent abilities and resources supporting the journey. Empty sector represents areas requiring exploration or integration. Movement direction shows the style of personal growth. Locomotive pattern versus other chart shapes. The locomotive pattern differs from other chart shapes because its main theme is movement and momentum rather than concentration or balance. Locomotive pattern. 2/3 occupied chart creating forward drive. Bucket pattern. One isolated planet becomes the main outlet. Bowl pattern. All planets contained within one half of the chart. Bundle pattern. extreme concentration into a narrow area. Splash pattern, planets spread throughout the entire chart. Strengths and potential challenges. The primary strength of the locomotive pattern is its powerful sense of movement and determination. Individuals with this pattern often possess strong motivation, persistence, and the ability to keep progressing even when facing obstacles. The leading planet provides a clear direction, while the remaining planets act as supporting resources that help the person achieve objectives. The main challenge is becoming overly focused on forward movement and neglecting areas represented by the empty section of the chart. Strong drive and continuous motivation. Ability to pursue goals with determination. Natural initiative and leadership qualities. Capacity to build progress step by step. Potential challenge. Difficulty slowing down or reflecting. Potential challenge. Ignoring underdeveloped areas of life. The leading planet interpretation. The leading planet is the most important factor in a locomotive pattern. It acts as the engine that begins the movement of the entire chart. Astrologers analyze the leading planet's sign, house placement, aspects, and condition to understand the individual's primary motivation and approach to life. A well-supported leading planet can create strong confidence and direction, while a challenged leading planet may create struggles that require conscious development. Sun as leading planet, driven by identity, recognition, creativity, and personal purpose. Moon as leading planet, motivated by emotional needs, security, and personal connections. Mercury as leading planet, driven by learning, communication, analysis, and ideas. Venus as leading planet, motivated by relationships, creativity, beauty, and harmony. Mars as leading planet, driven by ambition, action, competition, and achievement. Jupiter as leading planet, motivated by growth, exploration, teaching, and expansion. Saturn as leading planet, driven by responsibility, discipline, and long-term success. Leading planet by house placement. The house placement of the leading planet shows the life area where the individual naturally directs their energy and motivation. First house leading planet, strong self-direction, independence, and personal initiative. Fourth house leading planet, motivation through family, roots, and emotional foundations. Seventh house leading planet, progress through partnerships and relationships. 10th house leading planet, strong ambition, career focus, and public achievement. 11th house leading planet, motivation through groups, networks, and future goals. 12th house leading planet, driven by imagination, spirituality, and hidden pursuits. Example: step-by-step locomotive pattern interpretation. Consider a hypothetical birth chart with planets distributed across 2/3 of the zodiac. Leading planet: Mars at 15 degrees Aries. Following planets: Venus, Mercury, Sun, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. Pluto distributed from Taurus through Capricorn. Empty zone. Aquarius through Pisces area remains mostly unoccupied. Interpretation. Mars as the leading planet acts as the engine of the chart. This person approaches life through action, initiative, and personal effort. The remaining planets provide skills and resources that support Mars' desire to move forward. The individual may naturally become competitive, entrepreneurial, or achievement-oriented, but must also learn to develop the qualities represented by the empty chart area. How to interpret a locomotive pattern in a natal chart. When analyzing a locomotive pattern, astrologers focus on the leading planet, the direction of planetary movement, and the empty section of the chart. The pattern reveals how a person approaches life, where their motivation comes from, and which areas require conscious attention. 1. Identify the occupied 2/3 of the chart. 2. Locate the leading planet at the beginning of the planetary sequence. 3. Analyze the leading planet sign and house placement. 4. Study the planets following the leader. 5. Examine the empty area for missing experiences or growth opportunities. 6. Interpret how the person channels momentum into life goals. Locomotive pattern in personal development. The locomotive pattern represents the journey of continuous progress. Individuals with this pattern often feel motivated by movement, achievement, and exploration. The highest expression of this pattern occurs when the person balances their natural drive with awareness of the areas represented by the empty section of the chart. When consciously developed, the locomotive pattern can produce strong leaders, innovators, builders, and individuals who inspire progress,